So, who here loves the ATF? Who here thinks that the ATF acts outside of their legal limit? Who here thinks that the ATF doesn't respect division of power? I got my hand raised. So there's a whistleblower that came out about the ATF and what they're preparing. And apparently they've got a 1,300-page document that they've written up. I mean, my God. How many legitimate criminals could you have stopped while you were writing that thing up and proofreading it and having your librarian look after it and maybe the IRS going over some things? How many? But no, instead, you'd rather spend your time on this, trying to disarm freedom-loving Americans instead of going after real criminals. So essentially what they're trying to do is they're trying to push past an unconstitutional way of regulating private firearm transactions. Let me read this, and this is from a letter directed to Attorney General Merrick Garland. The ATF was directed by the White House to make the change and has drafted a 1,300-page document in support of a rule that would effectively ban private sales of firearms from one citizen to another by requiring background checks for every sale. Now, if you live in a state where this is already required, you may not see a huge difference. Not that anybody really gives a fuck about this. But for example, us in Texas, people can sell their guns to whoever they want to as long as they know that they aren't a felon and all the other crap going on. But they don't have to do a background check. They don't have to do any of that stuff. Allow me to read more. Such an expansive rule that treats all private citizens the same as federal firearm licensees would circumvent the separation of powers in the Constitution, which grants all legislative powers to Congress. So what this means is that the ATF is bypassing Congress, right? Congress has to come up with the law. If they come up with a law that says nationwide, federally, there can be no private firearm transactions, then that goes into law. But what the ATF does is they find a little nuance in some law and they say, well, this applies to that. So we're going to make a rule, and then if somebody gets caught doing this, then they get charged with that law based on our rule. It's fucking stupid.
In the meantime, my executive order directs my Attorney General to take every lawful action possible to move us as close as we can to universal background checks without new legislation.
It's without new legislation. It's without new legislation.
It's like your mom telling you when you're a teenager, you know what, this weekend, you're not allowed to drive the car. She makes it a rule in the house. This weekend, you can't drive the car. Maybe it's New Year's weekend, she doesn't want you on the road. So you go out and you take your bike instead, your bicycle. Then you come back and your mom says, you broke the rule. So now you're getting the consequence. What? What she's doing is she's saying, well, the rule applies to everything with wheels. So if you took your tricycle out, nope, you're getting the same consequence as if you drove the car. Took the lawnmower out, same consequence as you get with the car. Doesn't work like that. Our government does not work like that. There is a division of power. And it says that Congress makes the fucking laws. And ATF has to respect it. But no, they're doing this anyway. So I don't know if you guys remember, but Obama tried to do this. I forget the actual quote. I'll post it on here. But he said something like, all I need is a pen, piece of paper, and a phone, and I'll get it done.
I'm going to be working with Congress where I can to accomplish this. But I'm also going to act on my own if Congress is deadlocked. I've got a pen to take executive actions where Congress won't. And I've got a telephone to rally folks around the country.
The amount of law breaking that our government or people in our government get away with without going through due process is absolutely horrendous. So let me ask the Fed something. If this gets passed, they make it a rule that you can't do a private firearm transaction without a background check. Do you think people are really going to care? Serious. Do you think officers of the law are going to care? Two dudes who aren't out there robbing stores, committing crimes, want to do a private firearm transaction. Who knows the reason? It's a capitalist market. So maybe they want to sell their gun to some guy they know so they can go buy another one. Maybe they're tired of that one. Maybe they just don't like it anymore, whatever it may be. That's wrong? You're going to arrest those people? What law are you going to charge them with? You're just going to make one up? You're going to pull one out of your ass? You're going to take one of these ones that are a blanket rule? Like sale of a legal firearm? Folks, we're at a time in America where there are things being focused on that have no business even being brought up. There is no reason for the ATF to be focused on this. Find something realistic to do. If the ATF wants to do something, if they want to be a organization that actually contributes to society, you know what we need to do? We need to set up a little facility at every major city downtown that says ATF on it. And I want all of them patrolling the streets, looking for people who are doing smash and grabs, who are robbing banks. And with that, if you target anyone that is not currently acting in a criminal capacity, you break the law. You go to jail. Because regular Americans, all we're trying to do is live our life under the Constitution of America. And you know what the Constitution says to the ATF? It says fuck off.